Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
Interesting to watch a major company overcome a massive disappointment. Disney, ESPN, Lakers lose.
Oh, yeah.
How do you overcome that as a corporation when you put everything you have into one team and have told the other 29 teams to basically stick it?
Yeah.
Nico Harrison, who's the general manager of the Mavericks, has received a lot of criticism for the Luka Doncic trade. He did cite that he's not the world's greatest defender. In the series against the Timberwolves, the first time Luka played defense would be the first time in a while. LeBron had fourth quarters to forget. Age and fatigue will do that. And J.J. Redick coached like a first-year coach. Oh, if you were to actually say that, and he heard us say that, he'd just freak out because he's just so much smarter than everybody else. But in the NBA, you don't play the same five guys in a half. And he did. I realized that as a coach, one of the keys is trust, and obviously those are the only five guys he really trusted. But you don't do that in the NBA. And you don't do that with a 41-year-old guy. Is that what LeBron is now, 40, 41?
I'm trying to think if he might even be 42 at this point.
Right.
He's
I thought his birthday was later in the year.
Might be. He's actually 40. Yeah,
he's
40 on the dot.
He's 40 years old.
Yeah.
Come on. I realize that there are very few human beings on the planet at the age of 40 that are in the incredible shape he is in. But you're still 40. A couple of minutes here and there, like the end of the quarter, wouldn't hurt.
Yep.
Remember Hubert Davis on a college level doing that against Duke. Played the same five guys second half, won the game. He did. And then had a really limited bench in the NCAA tournament as they went all the way to the national championship game where they lost to, I think it was Villanova that year. And it's, I don't know what they're going to do. This has to be a tough spot for them to be in, where now they're going to have to be, like, I don't know, creative. I mean, they may actually have to talk about the Timberwolves. The Knicks. Well, they'll talk a lot about the Knicks. Celtics.
Yeah, that's your matchup next round. That's going to be something they talk about, of course.
I mean, do they know Cleveland and Oklahoma City have teams?
No, they're the one seed. Why would they have to worry about that? Yeah, can't promote the one seed.
Now, the people announcing the games are very well prepared.
Absolutely.
They do a great job with all that stuff. But it's all the talk leading into it, all the hot takes leading into it. You know? And you're sitting there and you have a coach in J.J. Redick saying the Lakers have to be in championship shape. Okay. I don't know what that means, but sure. I mean, your leader has 4 rings.
Yeah.
I think he knows more about it than you do.
Yeah. And Luka Doncic just played in the championship last year.
Played in the final last year.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
JJ,
Way it goes.
Yeah. That's
we're in an interesting time. Transfer portal closed for basketball 22nd, closed for football 25th, NBA draft declarations on the 26th. Combine, G League Combine is scheduled for a week from today, running through Mother's Day in Chicago. And then the Combine overall will then run for Mother's Day for a week. Okay. Run for a week in Chicago. That second one is the one where primarily the draft choices will come from. And you have until June 15th to withdraw. Just so everybody knows. Because of the way the season is and because of the calendar, the way it works out, basketball system is exponentially better than football system. When it comes to the pros, your ability to go in, work out for different teams, get a read, get a feel, and then make a decision about whether to go back to school or not is so much better in the NFL. Once you go in, you put your name in, and you have until about a week after the national championship game to pull out. Well, at that point, you haven't worked out for anybody. You haven't talked to anybody. You haven't done a combine. You haven't done a pro day or anything like that. Once you're in, you're in. And it's a system I never liked. And I see how the NBA does it. You have until 10 days before the draft to pull your name out. I don't think you can ask for it to be any more player-friendly than that.
Right.
I mean, at this point, you've gone through every conceivable evaluation, combines, pre-draft camps, individual workouts, things like that. Yeah. At this point, you should have a pretty good read about where you stand. And with the expansion to 15 scholarships potentially on the horizon, maybe as early as starting next week and 15 starting next season, there's more room on rosters for guys to come back. Instead of the old, hey, I've got 13 on scholarship, but believe me, we'll make room for you. Yeah, it's there. Plus, you're going to get some money out of it. What I find interesting is about people have asked about the $20.5 million. And I believe, if I'm wrong about this, please get a hold of me and let me know that I was wrong. But I believe the $20.5 million, if you have a university-connected collective, some of that money's coming out of that.
I would think so.
And that's why people are talking about these wild contracts going out right now. Well, that's because the collectives are independent at the moment.
Yep.
Right? And you're still going to have to come up with additional money for scholarships because there'll be scholarship expansion in. And it's not just, everybody always talks about the 105 in football. I know we talk about that all the time, but everybody else gets a chance to expand. Wrestling's going to expand. I think Kale, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn here. I think Kale wants to go to 20. He has the option to go to 30.
It's an option. Yeah, I was going to say options go to 30.
But
yeah.
He told Pat he wasn't taking all 30. Pat Kraft. Men's lacrosse can go up to 47 scholarships if they want. Some of these, they can be partials, quarters, halves, thirds, things like that, but you can get there. So with scholarship expansion, you are looking at an additional anywhere from $5 to $8 million more on top of the $20.5 million number. Now, she has to approve this. And I know Ward Manuel, and I want to preface what I'm going to say about Ward Manuel. Ward Manuel is for walk-ons. Right? So he's not an anti-walk-on individual. But what's happened is this. Because Penn State went later than everybody else, not everybody else, than most schools by having their blue-white game on the 26th instead of having it either on the 19th or the 12th. He has everybody on board here still. There are schools that made decisions to cut down to 105 in anticipation of this. And I don't think anticipated I mean, nobody did. I don't think anybody anticipated Judge Claudia Wilkins saying that she would prefer to see walk-ons grandfathered. She didn't want people to lose their spots. I don't think people anticipated that. I know when it came out, and as somebody who's followed this case religiously for years, I mean, we talked about this stuff 5 years ago, for goodness sakes. Okay? We've been talking about these court cases. When Jim Delaney was still the commissioner, had him on this show, and I said, Jim, it's probably easier for me to refer to it as the Kessler case. And he laughed because Jeffrey Kessler, Jeffrey Kessler is the attorney.
Yep.
And they they always would change out the plaintiff based on what their eligibility was at the time, age, things like that. The plaintiff name changed out till it finally got to, I think it's Grant House, right? And then House is on there, swimmer. But Kessler was always the attorney. That's why I referred to it when I had Jim on the show in the Kessler case. That's how far back we've been following this. Going all the way back to the O'Bannon case, which deals with the EA Sports game that was off the market for years. And O'Bannon was on the cover of it. And he says, yeah, I was on the cover. I never got a dime for that. They sold all these games. So I understand. And he easily won the case. I mean, the second Mark Emmer took the stand and started doing the ivory tower speech, I think even Kessler looked around and said, no, we don't have any questions. You've done enough for us. Thank you. Appreciate it. No, we have no questions for you at all. Your testimony did us a world of good. And you were their witness. It's like, I'll never forget the day he went up there, did this whole thing. He's on the stand doing XYZ. I'm reading it on the show, and I said, what's he doing here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay? One of the reasons that you probably went into an arrangement with EA Sports for the game was because you're trying to capitalize on money. Now, why do you need money? Because football and men's basketball aren't the only two sports out there. Just tell them where the money goes. There's always been this fear of telling people where money goes. How many of you look at a jury or a judge and you say, how do you feel about women's sports? How do you feel about having baseball, men's gymnastics, men's soccer? They all have something in common. They're competitive, they're expensive, and when you put expenses versus revenue, they all lose money. So where does the additional funds come from to make sure that they're allowed to compete at the highest level possible? And we have to come up with various ways of doing it. And I would have said, and for example, this EA Sports game is one of those ways. Now, would you have won the case? Probably not, because you talk about compensating individuals here. And I believe last year they got $600 plus the game.
I think it was, yeah, $600 in the game.
I believe
yep.
This year it's going to go up to $1,500 plus the game. Okay. All right. It's fine. But these are all these issues that the NCAA, who knows how much money they've wasted on court cases to get to this point, where when you're talking about taking 60% of reserves for back pay, and the other 40% is going to come out of the allocation to the individual schools over a 10-year period. I wonder if they could have paid for the whole thing if they hadn't put all the money into court cases. They've been fighting this and challenging this the entire time when they could have negotiated it. And they kept sitting there and believing in the amateur model. The amateur model, you want to know the day the amateur model died? Was the day against Uganda that the Dream Team took the basketball court. when Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, and Magic Johnson walked out there to play for the Olympics in Barcelona in 1992, that's the day amateurism truly died in sports. Where everybody looked around and said, hey, I don't care if it's your living or not, the best people are going to be out there. All right? And we're talking about something that took place 33 years ago. And that means for 33 years, they have sent the old saying, I'm never crazy about it, but it's the best thing I can come up with at the moment, kept kicking the can down the road.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're sitting here on the 2nd of May. That's the 5th month of the year.
It is.
Jason, just, yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
My brother's birthday. I could remember it.
It is your brother's birthday.
May 6th, Tuesday. Yep.
Is this the one that collects the bobbleheads?
Yep. Collects them with me. Yep. Tuesday, the 6th.
How many bobbleheads do you have?
Do I have?
I'm just asking.
Both of us combined, we've probably have over 100, I'm sure.
So you have over 100 between the two of them.
Yeah.
He has more though, right?
Yeah, it's close to even at this point because I've gotten usually I find any Phillies bobblehead I grab. That's and the same obviously.
Best one you have.
Best one I have of the Phillies is
best one of anything.
Bo Nickel. Took me a while to find that one. Yeah, absolutely.
Best one he has.
It's probably the same one. I think we both have the same Bo Nickel. Like we both went together and bought because it was a little more expensive because that was the wrestling. For those obviously that don't know how Penn State wrestling does it, the national champions, they give them out all at once. So every night you're not going to get the same guy. Did not get Bo Nickel that night. Took me a while to find him. So that's the best one. Probably have. Non-giveaway, I like my 2 Jerry Rice Super Bowl ones. I have Jerry Rice Super Bowl MVP one, where he's standing on top of a Super Bowl ring. And that one is probably my favorite. I don't have too many Joe Montana ones. My brother's favorite, I would say one of the best that he has Deion Sanders Falcon one where he's doing the high step, which I think is pretty cool. That might be one of his favorite ones. He has some Cardinals bobbleheads. Yeah.
All right.
Favorite Spikes bobblehead. I think they did an unbelievable job with James Franklin. I think they did an unbelievable job with David Taylor. I think that is probably my favorite Spikes bobblehead, the design they made on him. Mm-hmm. I think they did a great job with Sean Clifford with the Rose and his the Rose Bowl one. I think the Spikes, and again, a couple of great Spikes bobbleheads coming up this year too. So.
All right. So, yeah, and that's where the clearinghouse will come in on name, image, and likeness.
Yeah,
where it truly is going to be what it should be. And I always thought this is the way it should be. Hi, I'm Jason Lord, pick car dealership.
Right.
For whatever.
Absolutely.
You should always be able to capitalize on your name, image, and likeness. And I thought it was always wrong. I don't care who it was. I don't care if it was Joe Namath, Condridge Holloway, or Drew Aller. You should be able to sit there and go in front of a camera or read a radio script or be in a newspaper ad for whatever and be compensated for it. You're the quarterback at Alabama, Tennessee, Penn State. If you're drawing 100,000+ fans to a game, you're one of the draws. And at that point, it becomes rate of return. It's a business world. So Jason Lord, starting quarterback, University of Missouri. There you are out there. You do, for whatever, pick out the Missouri Car Dealer of the Year, and you're the one that does it. And sales go down 5% for whatever reason. For whatever reason. Could be pricing, could be tariffs, could be whatever, okay? You'd probably pick a foreign car dealer. I
do drive a non-American car, so I guess I would have to.
Tell me it's assembled in this country.
That's a what?
Tell me that it's assembled in this country.
It is.
Well, see, that's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
some American.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can do that, but say sales for whatever reason, factors go down 10%. They may elect to not bring you back because of rate on return.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Or sales may go up 5 to 10%. And they're like, hey, I think we need to renegotiate what we're doing here. I think I should get a little bit more because sales went up ever since you brought me on. Well, it's a coincidence. Well, is it really? That's why you have an agent.
Absolutely.
Now, to me, that's name, image, and likeness. You are looking for rate on return. That's why whenever we talk about private equity, boy, it sounds really great. Welcome to the All-State Big 12 Conference, except, I'm just using All-State as an example. Right. Oh, the people in Northbrook, Illinois are sitting there saying, how about, what are we getting back from the Big 12 here? And then they start wanting to have a little bit more control if it's not bringing the return that they're hoping for. And they start becoming more opinionated about how it should be run. And that's where you're going to have issues with private equity. If they're going to put a financial stake into it, how much say do they want in it? It sounds on the surface like a great idea, but it doesn't necessarily mean it is a perfect idea. And everybody is in search of money. If I'm the Big 12, I'm in search of money. They are the number 3 conference right now financially, with the ACC being 4th. It is a Big 10 SEC world. And you even saw that reflected in the NFL draft when 26 of the 32 first-round picks were either Big 10 or SEC. I don't think there's any coincidence. And I think that's going to be a pattern that's going to continue because they're going to have the ability financially to attract the best players. As we've said over and over again, I don't know what you do at certain schools, and I've used Pitt and Syracuse as examples. What do you do? Do you have a collective that's strong enough to help supplement your $20.5 million? Where now you only have to come up with, $10 million of it? Because the collective came up with the other 10.5? I don't know. Don't know. And that is again, these have to be like, university involved collectives. They're not going to come up with it from their TV deal.
Right.
Which they're in. Look, when Pitt was in the Big East, they weren't getting tons of money compared to the Big Ten. ACC was absolutely a step up for them. But that TV contract that's been signed by everybody, and the grant of rights that's been signed by everybody, going back to the second iteration of the grant of rights. For ESPN, that's about as friendly a contract as you can have. And ESPN wasn't going to turn it down. They had the option back I think it was like February 15th. I think they did at the end of January. And they said, well, yeah, of course we're going to pick up to the 2036. Because, look, it's not their job to go in there. It's absolutely not ESPN's job to go in there and say, you know what, we should give you more. No, we negotiated this in good faith. I don't need to give you more. So the contract goes through 2036, and then the SEC then amended some rules in the conference where by 2031, it is a little easier to get out. But that's not the point here. Between now and then, where does Florida State come up with the money? Where does Miami come up with the money? Georgia Tech. I don't have to ask that about SMU.
Yeah.
I mean, coming up with the money. They're not even taking.
They're not. I was gonna say they don't even. Yeah.
Really. I mean, they're not taking a dime. And the as opposed to the Big Ten and the SEC, where it doesn't mean there isn't some, because of the money and your budgeting, it doesn't mean isn't some inflicted pain there financially. Of course there is. Do you have to make a couple of decisions along the way? Of course you will. But you're doing it at least from a position where you can handle the new numbers coming in, because again, as I pointed out, another $5 to $8 million has to go into additional scholarships. It's more than just $20.5 million. And that's, you're looking at, like, I mean, Pitt, to its credit, is excellent in volleyball. They've been really good in baseball. They want to keep funding things like that. Okay? Men's basketball program is good, not great. And you look at the ACC, now the ACC is considering rolling back their conference schedule from 20 to possibly 18, because playing 20 games may not be beneficial to them based on power rankings. Power rankings are not strong right now in the ACC. Words I thought I would never say in my career. ACC basketball has always been a gold standard.
Sure. Absolutely.
Over the years. Now in the last couple of years, it has become, okay, Duke, and maybe one other team's good, and it's not North Carolina. And to the credit of Pat Kelsey, he brought Louisville back from the depths, and now they're really good. Hubert Davis, I think you feel like they're up here, but they're spinning their wheels and they're not gravitating up.
Yeah.
Elliot Cadeau, their point guard, left, and he's going to his fifth year, I think. He went to Michigan, and that means all the guys that were that were his core that got him to the national championship game, they're all gone now. NC State had a one-year run, and they fired the coach this year. Okay? So they're starting from scratch. So you're not getting as much supplement from basketball by long tournament runs. I mean, this year, units, I believe the SEC got 35 units. The Big Ten got 21. Right? And so 35 units. I think it comes out when it's all said and done, because these are 6-year runs, to about 4 million. So you're talking about, big money, over $100 million for the SEC. $84 million plus for the Big Ten, before it's all said and done, to be split up 18 ways. Okay? The ACC only got 2, 4, 5, 10? Because Duke lost in the semifinal. I think they got 10. No, it's not nothing to sneeze at 40 million.
Right.
But, that's got to be split up, 17 ways? And that's half of what the Big Ten got. It's a third of what the SEC got. They didn't get the benefit of that, and they didn't get the benefit last year of it either.
No.
What did they have last year? 3?
3 million.
No, 3 teams.
3 teams.
3 teams in. I mean, there's only so much Duke can do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's declined, and there's no question about it. You go back to, and that is why people obviously they live on the hot takes. That's why I think it's safe to be okay for them to say Coach K is you put him above so many others because of how difficult the ACC was when he coached at that time, without a doubt. And it's just not what it once was in so many ways. And I think part of that could be that we've seen the great coaches of yesteryear exit the ACC, whether it's retirement or taking another job. And I think that could be
Brad Burnell is now the dean of coaches in that league at 16 seasons.
16 seasons. Yeah, and Clemson has gotten better under him. There's no question about that. And now, you've seen obviously North Carolina go through the coaching changes. You've seen Duke without question. You've seen even once proud programs that were consistently good just fade a little bit. Wake Forest being one of those teams. I think
that's because of money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look, the Kentucky basketball roster allegedly is $20 million.
Yeah,
and they're desperate to win down there.
Absolutely,
they haven't been winning.
And you talk about it with the fan base as passionate as it is, you want to reward them, and that's absolutely, and that's what it has been with Kentucky repeatedly. You want to see consistently with what they're able to do. Obviously, they're going to have that matchup with Pitino. Obviously, it's not going to be about Pitino, but you're going to have. That's what the story is going to be about. It's not what the game's going to be about. You're going to have Pitino in Kentucky next year. Last time I knew he didn't suit up, but maybe he does.
Remember who's going to be broadcasting it.
Uh-huh.
The Keep It Simple Stupid.
That's right.
Group. The KISS principle. It'll be Pitino all night long. And Rick will have nothing to do with it.
No.
Just like with John Calipari. John Calipari had nothing to do with it. I had to be reminded 20 times during the course of the broadcast that he was coaching Arkansas. Over here in the back, can you just do the game? I got it. He's coaching Arkansas. I've got it. He's back in Rupp Arena for the first time since he left. I've got it. I don't need to be reminded. Do the game. In fact, when you look back on the Arkansas basketball season, I feel like it was that game that turned their season around. That got them back on track to playing well. They went in there and played a great game that night. I don't know.
Yeah.
The Pirates, did they win last night? Skeens pitched. I watched a little bit of it, but I didn't really notice.
I'm trying to think if they won or not last night. They played the Cubs. Yeah, I know they won the night before. They lost last night 8-3.
8-3. All right. Skeens did not have a good night last night. When I was watching him, he was struggling with command. That happens. It's no big deal. But the night before, the fan falling out of the stands. Oh, my God. He's still in critical condition.
Yeah, 21 feet.
I mean, my goodness. And everything was...
And the reaction of the players was, number one, obviously. They're horrified, number one. Number two, I think you're thankful with that reaction because it was, if this person does, God willing, go on to survive, the reaction to how quick those players reacted, to how everybody else reacted to it, and got to it immediately.
The Pirates personnel, they were out there
in a heartbeat. Yeah, absolutely.
What they did.
But it's just absolutely... It's awful. We've seen it a couple times. That makes it even more unfortunate. We've seen it a couple times in the sports world. We saw somebody fall to their death at Acrisure Stadium. We saw obviously Josh Hamilton, the tragedy where trying to get a ball for his son, where he threw the ball into the stands. And, absolutely, it's that stuff you just you don't want to see in any sporting event whatsoever.
No, it was awful.
Yes.
But the way the Pirates personnel reacted was...
Yeah, it was exceptional. Yep.
He has a chance to make it because of how
because of that. I agree.
To him and how they handle it. And hopefully he does make it. And I guess whomever was with him was trying to get on the field, and security had to grab him. It's like sometimes it's okay to just take every case individually here, right? Just do that. But it was, and I guess Derek Shelton in his post game really struggled, because of what happened. Like, they may be making a lot of money. That doesn't mean they're not.
Doesn't mean, I was going to say, it doesn't mean they don't care. Yeah, absolutely not. Do they, the product they put on the field, does it show they care a little less about the fans? Absolutely. Those fans that come to the game.
That's a management
exactly.
thing.
That's a management thing.
That's the people
exactly.
That is
exactly. That's exactly. That is where I'm going with. That is where, as opposed to what happens on a nightly basis, absolutely. They care greatly about. And look, they have made, there's, early on in the season, their PR was a disaster. I don't think there's any way to sugarcoat it. But you also look at really what they've done the last couple weeks. They've made things right. Look at the Skeens bobblehead they gave out, where they lined all the way through the Clementi Bridge into downtown Pittsburgh. Ended up giving every fan, to my knowledge, a bobblehead because of the ones that didn't get it at the game. So that was one thing they made right. They've made the bricks right. They've reversed course on that, fortunately. So they are trying. I think when you look at it, trying to make things right, they have to. There's no doubt about it.
Because they have to make up for their management.
I'm
talking about the ownership. I'm not talking about the management of the team.
Right.
They have to make up for the perception of the ownership of the team. And look, I don't know Bob Nutting at all.
No, I don't either.
I don't think I've ever been in the same room with him. But I think everybody within the parameters of the budget, they're trying as hard as they can.
Absolutely.
The question that people have is, how hard is he trying?
I agree.
That's a perception thing.
I agree. And look, you're seeing, the public is not, because you have access to so many things nowadays that you did not have access to in 1992. I think, 1992 is a bad example. They were winning. 1999, 2000s, where they didn't have the social media access. They don't have the numbers they now have in front of them with the money that is being made by these teams. Absolutely. And fans have a right to be angry about that.
Sure.
No doubt about it.
Penn State baseball will play a doubleheader today beginning at 4. They're worried about the weather tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow and Sunday both. Oof.
And then the other game will be Sunday.
Yeah.
And we'll just see how the weather goes this weekend.
Yeah, to be determined, I think, is...
playing Maryland, by the way.
Yeah, playing Maryland softball as well, doubleheader today, 5:30, or 4 o'clock to start, and then 6:30, that's game 2.
Yeah, approximately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Mike has them playing really well. They beat Ryder Wednesday night 14-4, 10-run them.
Looked great.
And ended it early. At one point, 3 batters were hit in an inning. At that point, I'm no expert. I would say there was an issue with control.
Yeah, most likely. It's safe to say that. Great that they had that game. I will say, obviously, with everything that's happened these last couple of days, in Center County, obviously, thinking about everybody with what they had to go through these last couple days. There's no doubt about it, and it was great to.
I was fortunate. Yeah. It flickered a bunch of times and
same
never
here.
went out.
Yeah, same here.
So
and I lived in Bellefonte.
But everywhere I've gone, the road's still blocked over here.
Yeah. Just then, it was an absolute mess, and no doubt about it.
I guess
absolutely.
The Jordan Center last night came.
Brown. Yep, they lost.
And some of the systems went out.
Right.
Not his mic, I guess.
No.
I know last night I was done playing golf, and I was just, I dropped off my clubs. I was going to go over and get my car, and I could just cut through the clubhouse, only because when you go in there, the guys at the front desk I know. I was like, hey guys, thanks, whatever. I went in, it was pitch black. I said, what happened? They said, the power went out a half hour ago. I said, really? I said, so in other words, everything's free? Right? They went, well.
Back in the day, everything was free for a lot of people during power outages.
But, enough of yours.
Oh, no.
Really.
No, I'd have been the one that would have gotten caught. But
Run faster. I'm running as fast as I can.
Like Police Academy, where the riot Fackler starts the riot and throwing the apple, and then free TV.
And I mean, we're talking about people who lost it for 50 hours.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's
imagine what the people in North Carolina went through last year.
Yeah.
I mean, in North Carolina, Tennessee, parts of South Carolina, parts of Georgia.
Absolutely.
What they went through last year.
Yeah.
Unimaginable.
Yeah.
Unimaginable. And here, it was so random. I realized that some people had generators.
Right.
But for example, I went to get coffee at a Dunkin' Donuts, and it was closed. Yet just down the street, things were open.
Yeah, Benner Pike was that way.
Right?
Yep. A lot of places closed, some places open.
Yeah, it was just real. And I realized some people have generators.
Yeah.
But it just seemed random. And I went and picked up food on Wednesday night, and every restaurant was packed. People were going up.
Sure.
They needed food.
Absolutely.
So they went out to get it. And so they went out to eat. But it is amazing. I mean, you think back to the 1800s, not electricity. Right? How'd these people do it all the time? Here, it's like, we have a power outage. Think of all the usages just in the home.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You want to do anything.
Yeah. Doing everything to keep your food in the fridge, without a doubt. And
Internet.
Yeah, sure.
Right? We couldn't do this show for a couple of days.
No.
I mean, but they still paid you anyway, so it was essentially stealing. I mean, that was your version of financial looting.
Well, they've made the argument that I've stole money from them for years, but...
And not only that, the problem you have is when you're looking around to see if anybody will back you up, nobody has.
No. They literally stare at me and nod their head. Like, what?
Yeah, sure. Now, did you ever do high school baseball?
Yes.
Do you miss it?
I missed the high school sports a little bit. I think I used to do basketball as well, did baseball, did softball. Yeah. A lot of those sports.
I mean, I realized
it was always interesting. Baseball, above all, was always interesting because that was back in the day where you didn't necessarily have power. So you, who knows where you set up? Who knows how you broadcasted it?
Who knows where the plug is?
Exactly. You had generators. You were on top of a garbage can sometimes. You were behind a backstop. Who knew where you were? That was the one interesting part of baseball.
I realize that every station has to carve out their own philosophy as to how they do things. So this is not a commentary on what we do here at Seven Mountains.
Absolutely.
Zero.
Yeah, and we're the flagship, obviously, of Penn State sports. So we have a lot that we have to,
So I'm not, this is not a commentary on because everybody has to do whatever they can to figure out a model that makes money and draws listeners and draws commercial entities. You have to. I'm still a believer somewhere that connection to high school sports,
local community especially, absolutely,
in a local community is really important for whatever entity is
100%
doing.
agree.
There's something about a Friday night in this state.
Certainly.
Where I grew up, no. We played on Saturdays.
Yeah, no, I've always...
I played back in the 70s.
Well, there are a lot of... obviously, they play... Harrisburg, they play Saturdays here.
But high school football in my state was, like, cool, but it wasn't...
Yeah, it wasn't
of the level of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Pennsylvania's huge.
And there's something about a Friday night where thousands of people gather and watch a high school football game. Now, some people are there because their son's on the team.
Right.
Fine. Or their friends are there because their buddies on the team. Some people are there because, guess what? Their son or daughter happens to be in the band. Some people are there because their daughter may be in the color guard or one of the cheerleaders. There are also people that just go because it's their town team.
It's their town team.
Somebody else's
Sure.
town team.
Yeah.
And I know in Center County on a Friday night, say everybody's home. State High, Penns Valley, Bellefonte, Baldy Glare,
Yep,
Phillipsburg,
PO.
Osceola. Say they're all home. You could have anywhere from 20 to 25,000 people
Easily.
in the stands,
Absolutely.
which is about one.
Especially when they're playing each other, or when State College has got a big game.
That's about 1 in every 6 people in
Yeah.
the county,
Absolutely.
statistically, going to a game. And there's just something about that Friday night.
It's special.
Right?
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
different and special, and the connection you can make, and then have it carry over to high school girls basketball, boys basketball, wrestling, or whatever. And even we can talk baseball, softball, but to me, there's always something about that connection between an entity that broadcasts the games and those fans. I think there is that connection. Now, I was fortunate in the 80s, from 1980 to 89, to do that for 10 seasons. Ron Pavlechko was the coach.
Yep. It was the AD when I first started.
Yeah, he tried to fire you many times.
Ron was a great guy.
Oh, you can't ask for it. Ron and Barb, two great people.
Yes.
They're two great people. Unbelievable. Beautiful family. And I got to cut my teeth doing that by doing those games. I'm forever grateful for it.
Absolutely.
And I remember those Friday nights, and you go and to somebody, the concessions, the concession stand, and I think does State High still do the cider? They used to. Hot cider at games.
They did for a while there. I don't know if they still do or not. Yeah, the concessions I think for State High now are, they're back on that press box side. They're over a little bit, but I remember back in the day they were underneath the bleachers.
Yeah.
And then they had obviously the trucks up top.
Then if you go toward northeastern Pennsylvania, like let's talk about Selinsgrove, Sunbury,
100%.
Mifflinburg, Lewisburg. They have Halushki.
Nice.
Mount Carmel.
Mount Carmel.
Halushki.
There are a few places, and obviously in terms of venue, it's not the nicest venue in the world. I actually, to be honest, I think my alma mater, Pottsville, might have a lot of schools beat with. Well, first of all, Moritz Hall's second to none. I was fortunate to play at Moritz Hall and I think the high school football field in Pottsville is incredible. But there are few venues that have the mystique that the Silver Bowl has in Mount Carmel. I think that was a place I
did one game there.
Yeah, I did a game there as well. Did a game there as well. That was they had a lot of first of all, winningest program in Pennsylvania. Jazz Diminick built that team for many years, and that team was just incredible. That so many years, but that place, there was something about it. Couldn't park very easily there. Getting out of Mount Carmel was an adventure every time you went there, but it was no doubt about it. One of the special places, one of my favorite places that I've been to calling high school football.
High school football fans passionate on a Friday night. That was a place where you went there, like it meant
the Coal region, period. The Coal region.
The Coal region.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, you go to Shamokin, same thing. You go to Origsburg with Blue Mountain, absolutely, same thing. Yeah, that's Coal region is incredible when it comes to high school football. There's no doubt. Southern Columbia, obviously.
Yeah. So, it's a big deal. That's why when the Tom Cruise movie that was filmed in Johnstown at Point Stadium, All the Right Moves.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that's not that far off about how passionate people were. And not only that, but like high school football was a way to maybe get to college and get you, with all due respect, get you out of town.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Right. And that applies to basketball especially. There's no doubt about that.
I mean, you were driven out of town.
Well, they couldn't wait. They could not wait.
It's like, it's amazing. In fact, they drew lots to see who the winner was.
They couldn't wait. They literally, it was normally a ride out of town cost you money. Not me. They picked me up personally and said, "Get the blank out of here. Thank you."
Greg Popovich, by the way, has stepped down as the head coach of the San Antonio Spurs. He's been going through
a lot.
time.
Absolutely.
Popovich is interesting in that he has that interesting persona with the media.
Right.
You know, he doesn't like doing the in-game thing, which I don't blame him.
I don't blame him either. No, you got a job to do.
Right, that's a pain in the neck. I'm trying to coach the team.
I agree.
I don't really have time to talk to you and answer your questions. I get that part, but, you know, being a coach in the NBA, you're obligated to it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, same with football. You're obligated a lot of ways.
But I've never met him. I don't think I've ever been in the
never met him either.
But I have mutual friends with him. Okay, so it's not like there are people I know that really actually know him. Like, they aren't just acquaintances with him; they know him, and they say he can't ask for a better guy. They say he's just a great guy.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, I remember asking.
It's interesting how the persona on these interviews gives one the perception that you can talk to people who actually know him. They can't say enough good things about him.
Absolutely. Yeah, no doubt about it, and that's I've had the chance, obviously, to ask David Robinson that exact question, and incredible. And obviously, you go back to when the Lakers were not the national team of America that everybody talked about, but when Magic Johnson was here, I had the chance to ask him, the guy who got his car ticketed here.
It's just one of the more unbelievable stories.
I'll never forget it. Never forget it. I think they took care of it, but my goodness. So that's literally just where whoa. But, I had the chance to ask him.
Speaking inside the building, it's the only reason there are thousands of people there.
Literally.
Right?
Literally.
He's got an orange thing on the car.
Yeah, literally.
Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, his handler literally said, "We'll take care of that," and I assume they did. But
it was not one of the office's shining moments.
No, not at all. Not one bit. That's something. Fortunately, the person that did it is probably smiling about it if he's still here. But
sure.
I remember asking him, what he learned from Dr. Buss, obviously because of, number one, what he was able to take on the court, what he was able to take with the Lakers, but what he was also able to take into the business sector. And he probably went on for 15 minutes answering that question. And it was just incredible what he meant.
Except there's one area where Dr. Buss didn't teach him, which came natural to him. Dr. Buss taught him a lot of things.
Yeah.
His personality was natural.
Oh, absolutely. The name tied to the personality perfectly.
That was always Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's
100%.
problem.
Yeah.
Is that Kareem, over time, had a reputation of being, at times, not always, but at times, a bit surly to people.
Yeah.
And I guess it was just a few years ago, it wasn't that long ago, where, Magic's, what is he, involved in 50 businesses now?
Oh, easily.
Something like that.
Obviously.
Including part ownership of the Washington
Commanders. Yep.
And he's
with the Dodgers.
As well. But he's been an entrepreneur and business sense, Jerry Buss, but his own personality opened up a lot of doors. And I guess Kareem finally went to him and said, "Hey, what am I doing wrong here?" And I guess Magic, I don't know what Magic said to him, but I guess the story goes is that he had to figure out a way to tactfully tell him that all those times you blew people off are now people that don't want to deal with you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Essentially.
Absolutely.
I'm sure he did it in a nice way.
Yeah.
And now, Kareem's doing more things now.
Yeah. 100%.
He's doing a lot more now.
Now, there is a possibility, obviously, that if your persona is big enough, you can overcome that, Michael Jordan. I think very clearly. I think his His personality has not always, he has the glowing smile without a doubt. The personality has not always been the best with people. The ego has always been very big with a lot of people.
Yeah,
but it's also not easy.
When he gave me 15 minutes one day, one-on-one, and he couldn't have been any more gracious about it. And
I think he was one of the first, and it's strange to say it because of how late it became, because he has obviously took off in the 80s into the 90s, but media has where you relate what the media, you do to the media that ties into the fans and ties into everything else. And that's what I think.
Somebody asked me what it was like, and I said he knows exactly who he is.
No doubt. No, not 100%. He was not somebody that ever supported any politician because he knew he could lose fans. He always presented himself in a suit.
Absolutely. He came out in a jacket and a tie.
Always. Yeah, he knew. That's absolutely 1,000%.
That I was wearing a jacket and tie, and he says, "I like your style."
Nice. Yeah. He was literally, and it's not easy, and I don't think there's any question. It's probably not easy being who he is. Obviously the biggest personality, biggest persona, biggest athlete.
Yeah, I don't know how you get through the week in State College.
I'll tell you, it's tough. And I think a lot of it, obviously, he went through a significant amount in 1993 with the death of his father. But I would make the argument, I think part of that was also everything else that he had to go through. He couldn't move. They literally could not go anywhere without being Michael Jordan, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's like that old story in Barcelona. Of course, Jordan walks. Oh my God!
Yeah.
John Stockton was able to walk through anonymously,
and people didn't even know who he was.
He said, "Who's this guy? Who's this guy? Who's this guy?" And he was having fun filming it because he was having a good time with it. And it's like, meanwhile, Jordan couldn't go. Meanwhile, Barkley couldn't wait to get out there. Hey,
no, literally.
Here I am.
And that was the same with Magic and Larry. Like Magic would go through the front door, no problem. Larry Bird would be like getting that side door immediately. Yeah.
But it's just, I see you in State College. I see so much of the same thing. And not only that, I do see some of the surly behavior.
I'll tell you. Well, you have to dodge.
Look how angry your shirt is.
You have to dodge objects thrown.
That's an angry cow.
It's the Brahma Bull, the birthday of Dwayne Johnson today. I think he's 53 years old or 50-something years old. 53, I think.
That's the Rock shirt?
That is the Rock, yeah. That's his bull.
Well, I have to give you've done 60 minutes of bull. So. Took an entire hour to set that one up. Oh, my friend, have a good week.
Likewise, you do the same.